Next session really is introducing Randall and Ryan to come out and really share what's going on in the energy sector.
All right, thanks everyone for coming. Awesome. I'm kind of tired of seeing my face on the screen, so I think I'll change it. But raise a hand. How many think I should change this and update the picture, and how many think I should keep it? Yeah, okay. It's like 7 years old, so great. It's kind of hitting it. But no, thank you all for coming. How many people here, just by show of hands, seriously, are token holders today, shareholders of Store? So quite almost everyone. Is anyone not? Is anyone not raising their hand? So we're talking to shareholders. So first, thank you for having trust in what we're doing and believing in Store, believing in the team. Obviously, that's really important. Feels good for me. My picture's up here is really big, but this is not about me. This is about you all, right? It's about creating wealth and putting real assets in the hands of people that can obviously generate some future income. So a little bit about my background. Everyone, if you probably a token holder, you probably know my background, but 20 years in the energy space. So very traditional oil and gas. I'm a finance major and marketing major out of school, but I got into the oil and gas sector after I left the IT sector in 2001. So coming up on 20 years. And it's been fascinating because the energy business has changed a ton. I ran a public company during those 20 years. I ran that for 10 years as the chief operating officer. I had some private companies before that. I lived in Australia, started those companies, which was Sterling Energy Limited. We sold that after Bill and Claudia were investors in our in Philip Judge's energy fund, which we managed. So going back to 2004, we sold that in 2005. I think during that 2-year period, well, from 2003 to 5, we drilled probably 150 wells. So we were probably the most active driller in Louisiana, Mississippi at that point in time. And and I'll talk about sort of strategy and the types of projects we get involved in, but we were niche players, and that was our time to make hay because the sun was shining. A year later, all that disappeared, our niche went away, and we had to change strategies, change direction. But that's when we floated a company on the Australian Stock Exchange. I left that after 10 years of being the chief operating officer. And then partnered up with Randall Eddington, who's now my business partner for over 2 years now, 2.5 years. And I'll talk about Randall because he's going to come up and talk about one of our most exciting projects. I mean, most of you are involved with Utopian Global, right, before Swiss Gold Global, so you're probably involved in cryptocurrency and mining, or at least familiar with it, and what happened with ICOs in the market of 2017. As we pointed out, most of those cryptocurrencies were backed by absolutely nothing, backed by a lot of promises, no assets, some of it good technology and some of them worked, but I believe 95+% of them failed. And they failed because they had there was no underlying asset behind it. And so that's why we created this. It was perfect timing for us from Randall and I's perspective in our market, because having seen the energy sector from a historical perspective, 20 years is not a lot of time, but in the energy space and what's gone on, we've gone through major quantum shifts. And the sentiment of people's mindsets, everything is changing to become more efficient, more revolved around the environment. How do we do good for the environment and the surrounding, culture? So that's why we created Store, and it was sort of a perfect timing with respect to what's happened on the back of the ICO market to release something with real tangible assets and real income. So that's not the slide I want. So that's why we created Store, right? You're investing in resources that power the world. So it's not just oil and gas, right? Because that's a traditional thing. We'll talk about that. That was more strategic to build a foundation for the company. But more so, what are we looking at in the future? How do we play in some of these niche markets that have a real impact on the environment, but at the same time focus on generating returns? So that's why we're all here, right? You're not going to invest your dollars if it's all just for the environment, but we can make an ethical decision to make an investment in these particular resources that also do good around the world. And that makes, and I think that's where the sentiment of the market's moving to. I know probably 10 people that I've done business with in the oil and gas sector who've moved completely away from hydrocarbons and are now in the renewable space. So it's shifting quite dramatically around the world. Bill talked about this, and it is really important. Obviously, population increasing, there's a lot of demand on energy as the population increases, and technology is what's behind that, because technology requires a tremendous amount of energy, and of course, natural resources are a big part of that too. So we're building this equity platform, but you can't build anything without the right team. And Bill talked, we've known each other for 15 years and good friends over that period of time, and we've reconnected over the last sort of 20 months, 15 to 18 months. And so it's been really good, but some of these relationships go back. There's Jay Stewart, who's the geologist behind the project we had in 2004. Philip Judge, of course, you're all familiar with that name. Interestingly enough, Randall and I have been business partners for a little over 2 years now, but our relationship actually goes back about 8.
Yeah.
So I had a project in Oklahoma before, it was around 2003 and 4, and he was working with another group that was actually buying our crude and marketing our crude at that time. So it's interesting how things come back around. So very well tied to the group, and then some of these are kind of new faces. But as I start to talk about these projects, that's where these people become really, really important, because I'm not a mineral recovery expert, but I can assure you that Robin Slaughter has got more years in mineral mining and doing it in an environmentally friendly way. He's got more years doing that than I've been on the planet. So, so we've got the right team to execute. I think that's the most critical part of this whole thing. So what is STORE, right? STORE it's a platform. It gives us access to assets that otherwise wouldn't be available to the market, right? So we address the energy consumption realities. So obviously with energy prices, it's all commodity driven. And a big part of this is remediating the environmental damage, and we'll talk about that in some of our project sections. But obviously the key point is to focus on generating return and driving growth for investors. So how do we do it? The big key to it is diversification, right? You have to have multiple assets. So when I talk about strategy in a second, you'll see that. The other key is executable projects. These aren't theoretical concepts. These aren't theoretical technologies. These are technologies that are used today that just most companies don't use, because their efficiencies are a much different scale than where our efficiencies can be. So we'll talk about that on the mining side. We do it under one platform, so it's very agile. We do it under one token. And the reason why we've chosen the token is because of liquidity. And we'll talk about liquidity at the end, because it's a very, very big piece of it. But what we did different, and Bill talks about this a lot, is you're a token holder, but you're also a shareholder. So your token is directly tied to the share of the ownership of the company. So that's different than most tokens out there. The token was kind of ironically created to detach the investor from the investment. And so that's why it's such an obscure concept for people to understand. So why do the token? Because if you get someone share a company, well, they're a shareholder of your company. But traditionally, well, I say traditionally, 2 years going back into ICOs, you give people a token. There's some functionality that token has, but it doesn't give you ownership. It just gives you functionality. But what we've done is actually tie the token to the company. So it's a lot different. This is why it's an equity investment. So it's asset backed. You're a true shareholder. So I'll refer to you as shareholders. Of course, liquidity, that's a big part of it. And of course, the leadership expertise, which you've seen with the team. So our approach is very simple. This goes back to just basic building a company, building a strategy. Just like you would build a house, right? You build a solid foundation, and that's what we've done with our first acquisition. So everyone's familiar with the Texas asset, right? Everyone's heard of what we're doing there. So I'll talk about it in more detail, and I'll give you an update on where we are with respect to that particular acquisition. But that is our foundation. This is an asset that is going to be around for probably over 3 decades. It's been around for 7 already. And then, of course, we move into some of our core assets, which, to me, a core asset is something that can be replicated. It's something that can be franchised. It's something that can be repeated and distributed. And then, of course, we've got some higher growth assets, some things that will generate internal rate of returns well above 100%. So those kind of are our long-term targets. They take a little bit longer to execute on, but we're already working on those today, and I'll talk to you about some of those here in a moment. How many came out how many people have they had that actually came out on site? So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, okay. So a few of you. We've already done 2 field visits for the Texas oil producing field. I'll go ahead and release the name. It's called Raccoon Bend. So this field, it's a phenomenal field. When I had the public company, I was the chief operating officer. A friend of mine, Pete Laley, who's the geologist on this particular asset, has been involved in this project for over 12 years now. And he constantly harped on me. He's like, you got to come in and buy some of these guys out. You got to buy them out. So I've been trying to buy them out for 7 years, and when I had the public company. So I was actually going back through my files, and I found some old stuff from almost 7 years ago of us doing the due diligence as a public company looking at this particular field. And it's amazing what they've been able to do. This is one of these fields that would never be accessible. You wouldn't see it on the market. All the people that are in it are all oil and gas guys. They're engineers. Some of them run quite big companies. One that's actually owned by Mitsubishi that we do business with. So they're all oil and gas guys, and it just gets absorbed within the market that it's in. So luckily, we're able to acquire up to 14% of this field. It produces about 800 barrels a day. Like I said, it's been around for 70 years. It was actually discovered by Humble Oil Company, which became Exxon. So then it was later bought and sold a couple of times. And my friends have had it since. So Pete and his brother Glenn, who's an engineer. And so we've got an independent third-party reserve study on it, which shows over 4 million barrels currently. And what they've been able to do with the reserves over time is absolutely fascinating. So there's about 33 different intervals that produce in this field. It's almost 6,000 acres. And we just keep finding new opportunities. And there's a lot of behind pipe reserves. So we'll be producing this for the next 25 plus years. And my feeling is that I bet we add another 1 to 2 million barrels on top of that 4 million barrels of proved reserves just by exploring and developing. So in about 3 weeks, we're going to drill 2 wells back to back. And I'm highly confident both of them will make highly productive wells because they're in the fields. We're just finding new little areas that had trapped, that had just never been explored or developed. And some of these wells have 6, 8 different zones that produce in those things. So you produce the deepest, and then you move up, and you move up, and you move up until it's fully depleted. But so my feeling is that I bet by the end of this, in 20 to 25 years, and you'll have to check with me on this then, we'll have added another couple million easy to this. So, but great returns, well over 20 to 25% internal rate of return today. And by accelerating that development, I feel like we're going to be able to get it up closer to 40%, which is a fantastic asset. So this is the foundation, right? This is the building block of the company. It gives us positive cash flow from day one, which takes all the speculation out of, am I going to lose my money? How risky is this? You guys know what you're doing. Are you going to be able to execute on your plastics to fuel or some of your mineral recovery projects? We'll get into the risk of those particular assets, but this one here, it's already producing, right? So we're paying for that future cash flow, but we only invest in things that we feel like we can enhance. Because I don't want to buy a mature asset that's already been fully developed. So we'll probably drill 4 to 6 wells a year in this particular field. So we'll constantly enhance the value. And that's where we add the value and increase the returns for investors. So the next thing, and I'm going to introduce Randall here in a second. So I've already kind of given you his background, and he can talk a little bit about that too. But for us, this is one of the most exciting projects that we've been involved in. And this has kind of been in the works for about 6 to 8 months, and it just absolutely ties perfectly into what we're doing. Who here doesn't know about the plastics crisis around the world? Okay, no hands, perfect. About 7 to 9% of all the plastics that are recovered, or sorry, that are discarded are actually recycled. So there's a huge opportunity around the world to put sites where we can take plastics and we can convert it back to fuel and do various things with it. But we're uniquely positioned to do this at STORE. And so I want to introduce Randall. So Randall, come on up here and talk a little bit about. You don't need this.
Yeah.
It's mine.
First of all, it's good to see everybody. I think everyone's seen my face, maybe on the webinars and things like that on our website. So good to see everyone in person. So appreciate being here and in your hospitality. So I think Ryan said, I don't know if you guys know all my background, spent most of my career in midstream, right out of the university. So started out in corrosion control, watching what goes through those pipelines, understanding what is causing pipelines to corrode. So it kind of worked over to the midstream space. So all I do, I was telling John and Ian earlier, I'm here in a blue jacket, but when I leave here, that white lab coat's going on with the goggles, and it gets messy quick. So you can call me a mad scientist. I do this all the time. I told them about a story with one of the labs we work with. I call them all the time, and you can hear them shuffle around when I call them, and they'll go, "Hey, it's Randall. Does anyone want to take this?" Because they know they're going to be on the phone for at least an hour or two. And so I invite myself over to the lab too. They don't want me there, because I'll stay there for days. But I invite myself over and make myself one of the company. So just in all that I do, if you looked at my computer right now, you see 100 spreadsheets with all these different blend plans and how to maximize, how to make more money. What can I do that others can't? And a lot of times, we'll get some product that nobody wants. It's a cheap product or it's free. And I go, hey, give it to me. I'll take it and I'll make some money. I'll say, no, you can't. And so very quickly we take this discounted product, we blend them together. And like I said, on these spreadsheets, I spend all day, all night, I think about it. Sometimes I pop up in the middle of the night and go, hey, I got that. So that's what I do. And this kind of, with the plastics crisis, I think it's great that oceans, this land, we got to take care of our environment. We got to leave a better place for our kids and for our future. So one of the problems is it's great that these cleanups are happening, but what do you think happens to those plastics? They're not being recycled. A lot of them are not. So the crisis is still there. They're just going to the landfill. So what we want to do is take these products and turn it back into energy that we can use. And make some money while doing it, right? So it's a product that we've already ran analysis on, so just understand over these last 8 months, it's not that we haven't been thinking about these things. This is what we've been doing the last 8 months. We run these analysis. We got to understand the sulfur contents. We got to understand the gravities of this stuff. Things that you guys don't see, but behind the scenes, it's a lot of work. So we're excited about this because we're ready to take it on now. We've got the blend figured out. We've got margins figured out. We understand where the stuff needs to go. Obviously, the test pilot, the first plant's going to be here in the U.S. because we want it close to our crude markets, our crude tanks. So we have tankage all around Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. So it puts us in a good position to absorb this discounted product, and in return, see some big dollars back. We had already kind of come across a similar pyrolysis plant. They understood how to make the product, but they had no idea what to do with it after. So I kind of just reached out, nonchalant, said, hey, I'm trying to understand what you do. I want to learn about it. Who do you sell it to? So I reached out, I got an analysis on it, kind of dug into their process, and I wasn't being coy about it. I was pretty honest, but I was very interested. And so that led up to now, 7-8 months later, we're ready to get this project rolling, and excited to show you guys and show you more. And I was pretty pumped to get up here in front of you guys and talk about it, because it's something that I've spent a lot of time on. So awesome.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think the key is, right, when the product comes out of these plants, like anybody could go buy it. You got a few $1 million, you want to go buy a pyrolysis plant, go buy it, fine. But the product that comes out of it's going to be a discounted product, which is the product that they sent Randall to have analyzed.
Yep.
And so that immediately sparked off in his mind, wait a minute, that's not refinery grade crude, so why can't we blend it with some other crude that is also at a discount and upgrade that barrel, right? So create more margin for the company.
Yeah.
So the returns are pretty decent just in a pyrolysis process, taking plastics, converting it to a fuel, or to an oil, which you can further distill on site and make a diesel out of it, which is great for some countries because they use diesel various, for power generation and various things. But from our perspective, on the first site, to do it in the United States where we already blend, and already runs 3 blending facilities for BlackRock and controls a bunch of different grades of crude, and a lot of crude that we know we can blend with pyrolysis oil to upgrade
It's a
it.
drip of this and a drop of that, and you just keep changing until
Yeah.
you get the right thing. So it's fun to look at. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think money or environmental, it doesn't matter. When we're doing good, we want to do good for people, be good stewards of everyone's money, but also the environment that we leave behind. That's really so.
Yeah, and so then the opportunity, thank you, awesome, good stuff. Product, and then they put it back into the same landfills in a lot of cases because they don't know, there's no process for this. And so in some countries, like we're already in discussions with the country of Panama, they have a new regime, and we're in contact with them, they have budget for it, and they have a big problem. And they know they need a solution, and there's a big push for environmental solutions. So we can be the go-to plastics to fuel partner for them. And Panama, a lot of Central American countries, a lot of South American countries. I mean, it's a big problem everywhere, but that will be our start. So first time will be in the U.S. from a span and control perspective, so we can operate it, we can be there, and of course we can upgrade the product that comes out and create more margin, as Randall talked about. And this is actually incorrect. I can actually fix it on mine. It should be between 2 and 3 years is kind of our break even. So where we're at with the project is we're running feasibility studies today. So we're looking at sites, we're looking at our markets, we're trying to determine, is it easier to be closer to the plastic market where you access the plastic, or is it easier to be closer to where the product is going to be delivered and blended? So we're working that feasibility up now, and then of course we'll tender bids for the actual equipment. So some of these manufacturers are, I mean, this pyrolysis has been around for decades, right? They've been converting tires and various things to fuel for decades. But the equipment's gotten better, and now it's almost a continual process. So they're on the 3rd, 4th, 5th generation of equipment with, they're saying, 0 emissions, so which is fantastic. So they're now taking the gases and everything that is created from the process and recirculate that gas, and because you have to have a fuel to heat up the element anyway. So this is a huge opportunity for us, and of course, through Utopian Global, and the token holders will all be a part of it.
Will you accept a question?
I'll take a question.
Yeah. There's been an add-on in the UK this week from BP about working in conjunction with somebody again in the plastics market. Any idea what that means? Is it not parallel technology, or is it similar?
I haven't seen the article, so I can't.
I haven't got your knowledge, but I saw the ad.
Okay, I'd like to see it. So anyway, I'll take a look at it. But
Yeah.
no doubt, I mean, this is what people don't understand about, big oil companies. They're going to be the ones to innovate because they have R&D dollars, so they will be a big part of it. But our role is to not go out there and compete with everyone. It's just like some of our other projects. We play in niche markets. Like Randall doesn't look at a deal and go, oh yeah, I want to compete, with Marathon on their midstream assets. No, we find little niches and cracks in the market, and that's how we built our business privately, and that's how we're going to build Store's business. So ours will be playing in and around that and finding niche markets in ways where we don't have to compete head to head. We can still generate significant margin. The next so that would be considered a core part of the strategy, right? Something that we can replicate and repeat in various markets. Last week I had the great privilege of heading to Ecuador, so I spent 3 days there, and of course I was in those clothes that you see there for 3 days because they lost my baggage. So I had to get Robin Slaughter, who you saw, to explain to everyone that we met that I had lost my bags and that I don't wear the same clothes every day. But so it was interesting. But so you're familiar with the story, you read the white paper, you've read about the Peru project, right? The mineral recovery and land reclamation. This project in Ecuador is almost a laydown to the Peru project. a little bit different in the sense that the Peru disaster is much more, it's huge. It's much larger than what's going on here. But the same opportunities exist. Okay, so, well, just kind of talking about Peru. So if you think about all the mining that's happened in some of these areas that have been highly prolific in gold and silver production, going back to the Spanish conquistadors, really, they mined these areas. But then the big mining companies came in and they were after the low-hanging fruit, right? And so this was at a time when gold and silver prices were much lower, their processes were not as efficient, they didn't care as much about what happened to the local community and the environment, and so they created an absolute disaster. And so they left these huge heaps, right, of after processing all this rock and material, and left it with a bunch of heavy metals and chemicals, which have leached all into the groundwater. I think National Geographic was the one who did the report on the area of Cerro de Pasco in Peru that said, and they actually tested the lead levels in these children that have grown up in these areas. It's 4 times the limits that it should be. It's absolutely atrocious. Not to mention, none of that money comes back into the area, right? It all leaves that area and leaves an absolute disaster from an environmental perspective, no jobs, and a real problem. And so what I love about Robin is he is a traditional, kind of like me in the oil and gas business. I came from the traditional, conventional sense. He did as well, but he's developed and taken on all these sort of best practices and processes that he's gained from people over time that have been proven. These aren't theoretical technologies to run a completely clean process. So when you're finished with the mine, and here we are standing on a heap site, right? So, or a tailing site. So imagine, I don't know how many hectares that was, probably 20 or 30 hectares we're standing on, and it goes 20 feet deep. Tailings that were processed 30 years ago that started at the bottom, and they just keep piling up into these big areas that of course have to drain, you have to control the water because this has arsenic, it has sulfur, it has chemicals, it has all the things that they use to process out all the metals, right? Gold, silver, nickel, zinc, and platinum. So we're standing on the site, and these are old tailings. It's already been processed and ground down. But what's fascinating is to understand the economics of the ground that we're sitting on, that is not useless material. There's 8 to 10 grams per ton of just gold, not to mention all the other elements that exist in there. So we're standing on 8 grams per ton of gold when your break even is at 0.6 to a gram per ton to extract and process. We don't have to extract it. So there's so much opportunity that exists to taking this product, reprocessing it with a new technology that, again, it's already proven, it's much more highly efficient. We can remove all the metals, we can get rid of the sulfur, we can get rid of the arsenic. You can take that, which is ultimately is sand, it's rock that's pulverized, and then you can put it with molasses back into the ground, reclaim this area, and you can actually plant and cultivate crops and various things on the land. So this will be the project that happens before Peru, because Peru's a longer term project. It's logistically a lot more complicated because of the altitude and the distance to infrastructure. We are an hour-and-a-half drive south of Guayaquil, and you're standing on a paved road, you're looking up at the Andes, and you're like, there's the mine right there, I can see it. So that's how close we are to infrastructure and equipment and people and the culture and the surrounding environment. And then as we're there, I probably looked at 8 or 9 opportunities. People are coming to us and saying, please help us. Like we don't know how to take this water runoff, we don't know how to clean it, we don't know what to do with our tailings, we don't know what to do with our mine. It's underinvested because Ecuador is not, it's not Australia, it's not Peru, it's not one of the top 5 areas for gold extraction. But some of these areas have 20 to 30 grams per ton gold still left. So there's a tremendous amount of opportunity with a lot of potential down the road. So Philip Judge and Robin Slaughter will be putting together feasibility studies over the next few months, and we'll be slowly releasing information as it comes out, because this will be one of the first projects around mineral recovery and land reclamation that we'll be involved in. And we'll prove it can be done, and we'll prove that we can actually, run the process 100% clean to the environment. So I'm convinced of that. So those are the three sort of areas of assets that will be participating in STORE. Of course, the Texas asset we've already acquired. I'm just waiting on the last little piece. So there's a tax partnership that the sellers are in. So I just wanted to kind of explain, because everyone here's a token holder, probably wondering what's going on. So the sellers are in this sort of partnership where some of the people are selling and some are not. So we couldn't have the partnership take the sale or take the revenue into the partnership, because then there'd be tax consequences for those who weren't selling. So they've had to unwind that tax partnership so that the individuals in that tax partnership could sell the interest through an assignment. So that's the last piece. So the deal's completely locked down. We've done our purchase and sale agreements. The last piece is just to affect the assignments, which are the actual title. And then, of course, money changes hands and is done. But purchase and sale agreement's done, so both sides are essentially committed. It's just the unwinding. So we expect that in the next week. And then what we'll do is we'll have our counsel, who's Wong Law out of Houston, write an opinion. And so we'll announce that to the market so everyone can kind of see that it's been completed. But and obviously past that, what we want to be able to do through Raccoon Bend, because it's generating revenue every month. So what we've been doing is essentially on paper thus far been compounding that revenue back into the company, because we want to get as quickly as we can to plastics to fuel. So we want our first plant operational. I think what will end up happening is we'll send out distributions much earlier than the plant actually being completed. But from a cash flow perspective, that's how our model is built. So we project somewhere around Q4, we'll be able to send out distributions from Raccoon Bend, which will be great. So I don't think it's going to be any later than Q4 this year, which is not far off. So I know we probably set the expectation that it was going to be earlier, but we needed to compound that revenue, because it just gets us a little, it actually doesn't make much sense for us to distribute that while we're still building. So that's why we decided to do what we've done. So yeah, this is the Peru project, and again, it's a $2 billion resource. It's something that once we've executed in Ecuador on a smaller scale, we'll move into the Peru project, and it has some bigger issues with respect to the government too that need to be resolved. But again, we're not going to lose sight of it, but we want things that are executable. Remember, one of the key points. I don't want to just throw the carrot out there and everyone get excited about a carrot that we can never reach, which is why we focused on Ecuador, but for the near term. Liquidity. I mentioned it early on, and this is one of the reasons why we love the token so much. There's so much you can do with a token that you cannot do with a share. With a token, I can list it on an exchange and I can give you liquidity on not only one exchange, but multiple exchanges. As you know, you can buy Bitcoin from who knows how many, dozens of exchanges. We can do the same with our token. Not that I think we'll do dozens, but we may do one or two. What is also great about token, we can also tokenize the reserves. So there are ways to get liquidity. There are already companies out there that are creating stable coins that, like a OWTI, I think there's another one that I looked at, I can't remember the name of, that will actually buy our future oil reserves and pay us now if we decided to do it. And so basically by tokenizing the oil in the ground, we can create liquidity for token holders. I'm not suggesting that that's a scheme that we're looking at, but it's a potential, if these actually eventuate, that we can create liquidity for the future. We can do an IPO. Because we KYC AML, because we tied the token directly to a share, we can actually pull everyone in. If we decided to do a proper IPO on a US exchange or Australia or Canada, we can actually do that, which, depending on the market, may be a better solution, may not be. Maybe better stay in the crypto market. I'm glad it's come back over the last couple months. And of course, we can do revenue distributions. We can do that through fiat, thanks to Utopian Global in the back office, or we can do it with stable coins directly on the blockchain. So we have flexibility there. I already mentioned the blockchain-based partnerships. That would be tokenized assets and tokenizing the reserves and various things. So that's why, as a director of the company, this is on my mind every day. Because I get some people saying, oh, when are we going to list? And I think, well, if we list, then the opportunity to sell the token doesn't exist. And then, of course, we need to get the company to a certain level where it's, where it can stand on its own 2 feet. So we need to build value, and that's where the multiple's going to come, right? So we need time to do that. But we have options, which is fantastic. So with that being said, I have completed my presentation. So thank you very much. Thank you.
So big thanks to both Brian and Randall. A great presentation, great level of detail, obviously, and exciting prospects for the future, I'm sure you agree. We are getting pressed for time, but I would like to invite Satish up. He's there to do a
Count, please.
We can just pop up here.
Satish Lad. Just tell you basically a little bit about my background, see how I arrived here. I ran 2 advertising agencies over a period of about 20 years. Had quite a lot of success, made some money. I never had time. I was always working 7 days a week, hardly saw my wife. After that, basically, we had a child and everything changed. Just that I just need more time. We moved house, we started a new life. I started another business. Still found I had no time. And then one day I started looking at things online. I've got a few friends here, we all work online. And it's been an interesting ride. It's been like a roller coaster. Made some money, lost a lot of money, lost a lot of friends. Those are my only 4 friends in the whole world. But the main thing was that I learned a lot. It was a great experience. It was a horrible experience at times. At the same time, we had a lot of fun. But the main thing is that you've got to learn from all these experiences and not give up, trying to find that dream of having more time, having more money. And I think over the last few years, I've been looking, and I've never stopped looking, we've never stopped looking. And I think we've got to the point now where I feel I've found what I've been looking for. This is it. I understand it. I can see it as a long-term income. A lot of the other businesses they maybe last 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they disappear. And they're not always scams. Even sometimes they're just not managed properly. So I think all that time and energy and experience has led to this. And I think for those of you that sat in this room that are looking at this for the first time, have a second look. I think for those of you who are already in the business, have a deeper look at what's going on, because I honestly believe this is my pension, and I know that my children will benefit from this as well in the future. So, thank you. Oh, thank Bill, Claudia, Phil, Ryan, Randall. Just to say thanks for bringing this opportunity to us, because ordinarily people like us would never be able to be involved in this kind of opportunity. And I don't think most of us realise what we've actually got. And I think over the next year or two, we're going to see lots of things unfold, and Claudia was talking about marketing. Just think that it's exciting. For the first time in quite a few years, I feel excited again. And I can't wait to get stuck into this now. Thank you.
Okay, Shakur, how do you feel about coming and say a few words? Yeah.
Thank you, spontaneous. Hi everybody. My name is Mohammed Shakir, if you don't know me. Most of you probably don't. Thanks Bill for the spontaneous invitation to the stage. Very well. Well, yeah, my name is Mohammed, and I've been involved in the Talking Global now for about 3 years. Network marketing, probably about 5-6 years. And I've probably been about 2 or 3 different companies in the last few years. And I've been obviously invited to a lot more opportunities than that. But from all of them that I've come across, and some have been successful and some as we all said, you haven't. I think this is my best one that I've come across in Utopian Global. Not just because the CEOs are here and, you know, just trying to promote the company. Because, you know, it's for long term, as we say, you know, because when you start an opportunity, as you know, as John mentioned, it takes a lot of effort and time, doesn't it, to start a business. It doesn't matter what, if it's your own, like a shop or a personal business or an M&M company, it takes a lot of effort. And I always give it to my team, tell them that the effort goes at the beginning when you take the plane off the runway. There's a lot of effort on the actual plane itself. The engines drive and there's a lot of energy that you require to work. But once the plane takes off, there's hardly any energy required for the plane to stay up. And the same with the business. Any business you do, there's a lot of effort and hard work. And so it's pointless of putting a lot of effort in for 2 or 3 years, and then that business stops, and then you can only start again. And they do it 2 or 3 more years, and start again with the business. So you're just going around in circles. So why not find a business that will keep you going for years and years? And Utopian Global is that, you know, for me and for you guys, I think is that business that will basically stay for generations, not just for us, for our children, you know, and for their children as well. You know, if this, obviously, all these projects that I've mentioned today, if they become successful, because it's not guaranteed, you know, they won't guarantee you, they definitely won't guarantee these will be successful. But if they can pull it off, and they become guaranteed that, you know, income for decades and decades, then the initial energy that is required now to make this successful will be worth it. And so that's why for me, I think this is very good, because it's not just a long-term sustainable income, but it's asset-based as well. So for me, that again is real, you know, it's real wealth. It's something that you can, it's tangible, and this is there, it's present. And the past, the history talks about obviously gold and minerals, which we've actually been involved in, which have been successful in the past, and will be here for years and years to come. So this kind of stuff for me is good, you know. And also I like Bill's, you know, attitude and mentality, and Ryan and Claudia, you know, they're real people that help you. You know, you know, they've got so much things going on in the background that they could say, look, if you guys need help, contact support. They've got a support team. You know, email them, send them messages, they'll support you. But they actually will give you one-to-one support. You know, to anybody who WhatsApps them, sends them a message, gives them a ring, could be in the middle of the night, could be daytime, and they respond back to you. So you don't get that from a lot of companies. I'm not involved with a lot of companies, and you don't even know who the owner is of the company. They hide behind themselves, they hide behind, you know, a grey screen. You don't know who that person is. So you're getting these kind of benefits from Utopian Global. They're very open, they're very transparent. So that's what I like really about this, about Utopian Global. So by doing this, I mean, I've got 4 children and I'm a qualified engineer. So for me, it's basically about getting the time back with the family, which a lot of people can relate to. You won't have a time back, because once that time goes, you can't get it back. So for me, it's about time, spend that quality time with my family as the kids grow, spend time with them. And I've been successful in the past, and I managed to do that by taking time off from work. So I take unpaid leave from my full-time job as an engineer, and I spend that money I make from network marketing with my family. And so I have benefited in the past and the present by doing that. And the idea obviously is to be completely independent, financially free through these opportunities. And so for me, that's, you know, it's a personal journey. To spend that quality time with the family is my top goal really. And this is the perfect opportunity really. So that for me, I think is pretty good. Thank you.
Okay, what we'll do now is invite Claudia to come up and go through really how to operate Utopian Global as a home-based business and direct income from several ways. So, over to you then, Claudia.
Well, why not? Let's thank this guy, and of course the people who organized the event. Didn't they do a great job? Also, because I'm here to wrap up. Are you still awake?
Yeah.
Good. You want to listen what's coming now?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. You know that. Anyway, I need to get to the warm because I'm freezing cold. Well, they call me also the gold queen because I always carry gold with me. So, but I'm also the silver queen because I also carry silver with me. I even got my own silver coin. Who would like to have a silver coin? You can pass it around. Well, you know, when I started with Utopian Global, that's a long time ago. And I was really introduced by Bill. I met Bill in my prior company where I was working in the rat race, as they say. Didn't really understand what assets are, how to accumulate them, because I was never exposed to them. And when Bill basically told me about this opportunity, how to get involved into gold or silver and to actually get paid to save in gold or silver, that is when I really was so excited, because I didn't know how to earn extra income, because I was just, the only thing I knew was work. Who is in the same boat? You work for money which loses value, correct? But most people don't really understand that. So once I got really that message, for me it was a no-brainer, okay? So I'm going to just wrap up here because I don't have so much time and we need to get out of this room. I believe because we have testimonies to shoot. So let me go in here. So you saw the presentation, I guess, and you are excited?
Yes.
Who would like to own more assets?
Me.
Who would like to get them for free?
Me.
Did you know you could actually accumulate them for free? Well, would you like to see a way how to do that? Good. Would you like to see a way how to own your life?
Yes.
Yeah? Would you like to get this book?
Yes, please.
Because this is a training book. That's the manual. The guy who wrote it, he's getting paid since now, I believe it's the 5th decade. 5 decades passive income. Waking up in the morning, having more money in his account than he can even spend. Is that a great way?
Fantastic.
Do you believe it's possible?
Yes.
Absolutely it is. Who would like to have the book?
Me.
I think she's the person responsible here, Morel, who's doing the drawing. You did the drawing, right? Who did win it? Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Let's get to it.
Okay, so you might put the right names.
Because this costs actually money. But you know, when you really cross the idea of that, that's not just worth $1 million. That's worth many, many millions. Why? Because the guy who wrote it is making so many millions. The people who follow his system, they're making so much money. But when you understand it, cross the idea.
Okay, so we have 2 lucky winners for this book, and I hope that I'm able to go on.
Claudia.
Okay, well the first winner is Suraj Kumari, and she was sitting over there. Oh, she's there! For that. Thank you. Enjoy. Thank you. And if anybody wants to buy one of these books, they're on the front desk for £10. So grab one. Here you go.
£10 you could turn $1 million.
Absolutely. It's the best £10 you've ever spent. And the second copy of that book, which, is for Duncan Wood.
Oh, great. Well, I hope you turn it into mega millions, huh? Good.
You're welcome. And I'll let Claudia introduce this book. I haven't read this book, so I want to borrow it.
And of course, this is the book. Please all look at it really. It's the Stories of the Desk of a Bullion Banker. Yes, Ryan Messer is in there as well. And this is a book from Philip Judge, of course, who's on the advisory board of STORE. It's a really great written, very deep book about understanding money and understanding assets. So you really want to learn this, and you want to really read that, you really want to have that in order to understand that maybe where you're now, you've got to do something else in order to have something else. So who would like to have this book? And who did it?
And the name we pulled out is Mr. John Bain.
Right. Fantastic. All right. Well, okay, so let's wrap up. We don't build, we have them to sell soon because a new edition is coming out, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a new edition from this book coming out at the moment. We don't just have one with us, but all the other books you can have. Yeah. We also have a new merchandise shop for store and also for very soon for Utopian Global. So if you want to have any merchandise as well, you can buy that. Now let's talk about really how to boost your income. I mean, you all know and you heard about, of course, we have an ecosystem, right? We have an ecosystem where you can obviously make money from sharing. Sharing is caring. You can make money from, of course, investing into different products and services. And you have the precious metals and the silver, which is really your hedge against inflation. You get that, right?
Yeah.
So why gold or silver? I don't have to go into it so much. I mean, what the Utopian Global ecosystem, and that's the great thing about that. See, when I got started in 2008, gold price, was just going up. So it went up to actually eventually 1,800. Silver went up to 52. So what did I do? I accumulated a lot, get paid to save. I got it for free because I shared it with other people. But then I also sold some, made some profits. Are profits good?
Yes.
It's good sometimes to cash in.
Fantastic.
But you know what's even better is when you have such a liquidable platform that by a mouse click, basically, you can sell your gold in silver if you wish to. It doesn't really, normally, who do you sell gold to? You go to a pawn shop, you don't really know, do they give you, negotiate? Well, here it's pretty simple. It's a very easy platform. You really just have to click and that's it. And then they sell it back for the next day's market fixing. So you're getting a really great price. And if you're an affiliate, if you're active, actually, you don't even have a sell back fee. Now, normally when you sell things back, what is happening?
Costs your money.
It costs you money, you lose money. Well, with our system, if you're an active affiliate, you do not. Because you don't have a sellback fee. How great is this?
Fantastic.
That's all in your system. We also have a storage facility, but it's not just like Bill said before, it's just in the storage. It is actually certified LGNA storage facility where the gold is stored in. So you can really be very sure. And we have a lot of people from Africa, and of course, they're always very unsure and they're very uncertain. And here you have a really great system where, it's in the best hands, basically. We have access to the wealth education programs. We have access, of course, to webinars, marketing, your online business platform, because at the end of the day, what you really need is a system. Because we all are here because we want what?
Money.
Money, right? It's great to have the assets, right? It's great to have income-producing assets. It's great to have the gold, but let's face it, when I started, I didn't have the money. I was working a job. I was working actually 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs. We go from one, work full-time, go to the next, why? Just to make some extra cash. So everybody, first of all, and before they can become an investor, before they can start, they need to make money, correct? How do we do that? Well, that is, of course, what I did and what I'm going to show you. This is really by having a system which is so easy and so simple and so duplicatable that anybody can do it. And it doesn't even take a lot of your time. Okay? And that is, of course, by building your business with, you can rake multiple ways. And of course, the way I want to teach you is how to share this business in the most simplistic form that basically you can build your business on a napkin. You can just draw out a few things and in a napkin you can build your business. That's how easy and how simple we want to do it for you, that the business basically is done for you. Who would like to have a business done for you? Everybody wants to, right? Because we are not, when we start a new business, we don't start a new business because we really want to have more work. We want to have less work. Yes?
Yes.
So, and that's really what the system is about here. So we have a €50 monthly wealth accumulation plan. It's really a wealth accumulation plan. Why wealth accumulation? Well, what do you get in your €50 monthly? You're going to get store. What is store? It's an income producing product, right? It's producing you income over time, store. So for your 50 euro monthly, that's what you get. But you can actually, in our system, when we share it with 7 people, we actually get our 50 euro each and every month free, as long as those 50 people, so the 7 people are actually building the business with you. 7 people. But you may just introduce free, and they talk to free, and they talk to free, and they talk to free. You don't need to necessarily introduce free 7 people. And that's the beauty about that. So let me go next here. So basically, when you buy your package, you can buy a package from 99 euro. That's how you can get in. You can get the whole international platform for 99 euros. Meaning no matter where you are in the world, for 99 euros you can get in. Is this a lot of money or not a lot of money?
Yeah.
It's not a lot of money. It's maybe a lot of money in Uganda, but I tell you what Eddie did, which Bill mentioned before. Well, 4 people are actually getting together, and they have one membership in 4 people, one membership. That's how they get it. Why? Because that's what they see. They don't have the money. They make maybe 99 euro in 1 year. That's the reality. But they still can get into it. So no matter where you are, for 99 euro, that is your entry. And all what you do is you share the business, you make money, and from that you invest part into it back into accumulating more assets. Why? Because it's putting you from one side to the other side, of course, of asset ownership, and obviously where the wealthy people are. What we have, a really great thing is, we have different ways to get paid, so 6 different ways to get paid. We do have also travels. We have incentives, and more incentives are going to come out very, very soon, more incentives. We do some special incentives for Africa and for those countries where they have lesser, but we have everything which really you want when you build an organization, when you build a team. And a lot of those, of course, is going to come out in the next weeks to come. But as 50 euro as a customer, you can get started with our business. Very simply, you register, you do your KYC, you do your PPM, and you purchase for 50 euro and you accumulate assets. You join for 99, as you said, you commit to a renewal plan. Why do you want to commit? Because this is like your insurance policy. This is your assets. They are producing you money. You're anyway going to spend the 50 quid, don't you? Yes or no?
Yes.
How much did you just spend for your coffee there? I know some of you did actually buy 2 coffees. £4, £5? You spend it on a daily basis? Well, imagine you have 1 coffee less, but you put 50 euro towards. I tell you what, in 10 years your life has changed. That's the reality about that. So our packages, as you see, just in a nutshell, going over it quickly, 99 euro, up to 1 million euro. Okay, if you have a 1 million euro, you can come in with a 1 million euro. Obviously, you're going to get more assets. Yes? But you can start really from as little. Next step is very simple. You can start with your journey, basically, of wealth today. So you actually choose which way you want to get started. You want to enroll with a Nest Egg savings plan. You want to enroll as an affiliate. You decide, you want to become a customer, tip a little bit of toe in, or you want to build an international business and get paid to save. Yeah? You decide. You have to choose. There's different ways, of course, to start a business. Work for yourself. What does it mean? It's only you work, you have only a certain amount of time, right? 24 hours in a day, how many hours do you sleep? How many hours do you socialize, eat, whatever? So there's only so much productive time. So the process, of course, you work from your home in your own time. Your income is limited, of course, by the hours of the day. Correct? And we all would like to have more hours, but unfortunately that's not possible. Employ others. I had a talk with you before, hotel owner. How many people did you employ? Too many. So, too many, correct? So you're paying the people, you have all those costs, the tax, this, whatnot, and at the end of the day, you feel like, is it really worth it? Or are you not really still in this rat race? So of course it's not bad to have that, to employ people, but you have all the costs and the liabilities. Who wants to have liabilities?
Not me.
No. Who wants to have the headache of waking up, oh, the guy is ill today, called in sick, or accident happened, or the baby, or the kids are crying, or whatnot, you know. So this is also, well, it's an option, but maybe the best option. I searched and sourced a few people which are willing to build the business with me. Yeah, I showed them what to do. I helped them. I walked with them. I put them up when they were down, because that's the way it is. I taught them every step they have to do, and now they have big organizations all over the world. Yes. So building teams, work from your own time. You make money, of course, for what? From other people's effort. If I train my people good, then what? They're gonna do good. They're gonna build. I don't do nothing. If I don't answer the message, if I don't call them back, if I don't show them what to do, well, what they're gonna do? Nothing. Correct. So, as better I am, as better they are gonna be. Correct. So, and I can actually look for people who have more talent than me. I know Mirelle, she's typing now, but she has more talent than me. I have no clue what she does online, but she's really good. I'm not that good, but it doesn't matter. She's on the team, isn't she? And that's the point. You never have to have fear. That's what I love so much. You don't have to have fear that somebody's better than you. It's great. It's a blessing. In the corporate world, what? If somebody's better than you
Get shoved.
Correct. So here not. You make money from the teams they build, and you never employ anybody. You see, I have a business all over the world. I have people in what, I mean, I don't know which country I don't have people in, but in literally, yeah, that's true. I mean, I literally, every country, okay, some do something, some do nothing, some do a little bit, some do more, some do a lot. So it all depends. Right now we have, I believe, a meeting going on in South Africa, we have a meeting going on in Uganda, we have meetings going in Argentina, in Colombia, so we have meetings going on right now. Right now I'm here presenting, but yes, I know the bank account is filling. I'm going to spend it anyway again, because that's what we do. Money has to flow, money has to roll, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. And so the cons, of course, to that, to building independent teams, well, we don't really have any. What is there of a con? What do you see as a con to build independent teams? I don't see anything, so I haven't counted anyone. So let's go move on the next slide. While, of course, the corporate pyramid, what I was in that rat race, I worked for a large network marketing company, billion-dollar company. That's where I met Bill. Bill did it very part-time because he run his hotels. But, sorry, I don't want to say the word, but it starts with B and H, it's 2 words actually. So Bill was making more money here in 1 month than I was making the whole year. And I can guarantee you I was working more hours. I can guarantee you that. No. I know that you're challenged, but I know that I did. So really, really hard. But because I didn't understand the system, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what it means to own your life. And so I was doing all the stuff from down the ladder, moving up, to eventually become the assistant manager of the vice president of a billion-dollar company. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. But still, I was in the rat race. And then I was, of course, presented to, of course, what is a dynamic network? What it means, really, that you have unlimited opportunities to be a top earner. So it doesn't matter if Mirelle or John is actually not so long with us yet. You're just, how long? A few months.
2 months.
So John has the potential to make way more money than I am. How does this sound? Is this in a normal corporate, is this possible here?
No.
Not really, huh? So John can make more money because if he's better, if he moves more, if he serves more, if he helps more and support the other people, he can make more money. Very simple. And that's the beauty about this business. You are your own CEO. It's of course each member, each of you, your own CEO. You can decide how much you want to do. There's people who want to do part-time, fine, support that. There's people who want to do 5 hours, 10 hours a week, or full-time. It doesn't matter, right? And it doesn't really matter when you start. You really can make money even if you start now and you start from the bottom. You can actually reach to the top. So there's 2 ways to market a company. We all know L'Oreal, we all know Amazon, we all know all those companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do?
Network marketing.
They let's say all those L'Oreal, for example, 6 billion they spend in advertisement. They take a few beautiful models, they have a beautiful marketing agency, and they market the products and services through what? Television ads and other ads, correct? The model makes a lot of money, and so does the marketing agency, everybody else loses money, correct? So the same goes for the other companies, right? So they spend a lot of money. Well, what we do, what network marketing really does, what Utopian Global, what Bill was really so much passionate about when he started the company is helping ordinary people to making extraordinary wealth. Help ordinary people to make extraordinary wealth. Can you imagine when you go to Africa? Really for me, like, okay, I'm a long time in this business, but you go there and it changes. It does. So, and I'm getting emotional because it really changes you. When you see those people, they're struggling. They have nothing. You know? They have nothing. So from nothing, what can you get? Nothing. But they have this inside of them, they have so much passion to get out where they are. And so I just love that. And so with this, they have a chance because they don't have the money, but they have people. They can bring people. And so they bring people, they're learning. Like I get messages every day because we went there and we had a bag full of books, educational books, study courses we did, personal development. I'm a coach with Bob Proctor, didn't mention that. I worked with him all over the world. Life success coach, so is Bill, of course, working on our inner self, because first of all, we need to get our mindset right before we can attract, of course, everything. So we gave them the books. They are so grateful. They could never afford to buy those books, but now they can. They're learning. It's not just the money, it's the wealth education. It's what you do for people. It's what you do for people. And so seeing that is just amazing, because ordinary people now, where in their countries they have never the slightest chance to be on that other side. Now for the first time they can own real assets, which makes them real income, which can actually put them out of that poverty and of course being on the other side and giving back. And that's really what I liked so much, what struck me so much when I saw what Bill mentioned before. You had that guy who was on his just like crawling there on the main road, like big road, big cars, many cars. And he didn't, he was broken, everything, paralyzed. So, but you have people who are also poor, but they help them, they give them, they help them. They have nothing, but they still give them. And it's about giving back. So yes, I can buy yes, I make money, and yes, I'm making money since many years, and yes, I have residual income. But I can only put so many shoes on. I can only put so much dress on, right? I want to give back to people. This is all about myself now, empowering people, giving back to people, building a legacy, helping them. Because when I help other people, well, they help me, isn't it? I only make money when I can help you guys, correct? Because when you're making money, I'm making money. And that is so much different than in the corporate career. That's why I love this company. And that is why I love Utopian Global. That is why I love the home-based business. And with that, I want to end this. So thank you guys all for being here. Next time, we're going to fill the room with 10 times more. Yes? Yes. Let's give it come here, darling. Let's give it up to everybody who helped here. Karen, so they did a great job, didn't they? Yeah.
We did, yes.
Fantastic. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? So they did a great job. Next time, 10 times more, correct? We're working on it. We're getting the message out. Correct?
And more local meetings.
More local meetings? Yeah? We are excited?
Absolutely.
Yeah? Well, you did a great job. Thank you so much. Huh? Thank you. And everybody who wants to buy Own Your Life, that's the manual. It's £10. So £10, it's there. The lady with the money is of course Mirella. You know, it's always with a woman, the money. First of all, you understand that. So, correct, Sahir? And I want to also, I don't know if Sahir can come up here or not. Can I bring you up? Yes, I can bring you up. This is my friend Sahir. He's not very well, but he is well.
I am, because I've got to say I am.
You are. Well, this is Sahir. And Sahir is really, really great. You see, he had a lot of really challenges. Many challenges, like many heart attacks. I don't know how many. Did you count? Did you stop counting?
8.
Yeah. So he's a young man, but he is here because no matter what. No matter what, because he really stick to us through thick and thin and whatever. So,
Through hard times and good times, yeah.
yes, and thank you so much. And thank you, your family, and I know you're going to be up there
That's fine.
next event, and you're going to be fit, you're going to be healthy, and you're going to bring your wealthy, of course, and you're going to bring your little ones,
That's fine.
you know, inshallah, as you know, and I know you're going to do it big.
Definitely.
I believe in you.
Thank you, Michael. I believe in this company. Everyone should be part of this company. It's a great company. We've had some tough times, but it's really going in the right direction. And with everyone coming together, we're really going to go far. I'm sure we've got real experts doing real things, you know, so watch this space, everyone.
And his life makes the best promotion.
Shameless merchandise store.
Oh, no. Sorry. And yes, I had already announced it before, but I'm also announcing it again. We have Satoshi Life Collection, a new store. So that means you can buy your t-shirts, you can buy your hoodies, all the stuff, also V-neck, everything you like. More is going to come on merchandise of store. Why do we want to wear the merchandise? I don't have mine yet because it just literally launched. But next time I will, because we want to market it. Because when we market our products and services, you are going to make more money. Why? Because the company buys more assets and it means you make more money. Pretty simple. Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. See you next time.
Never quite finished yet. I know it just goes on and on, doesn't it? But who wants to come up and say a few words? And then we can feel what.
Diane and Randy, would you come up, please?
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Gladys, because you're very much part of the whole story as well. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today. We understand you don't have to be here. We understand that you're a voluntary army, so there's trust there. You put money into Utopian Global Enter store. But as Claudia said, you know, I bought a double espresso, this little paper cup, £2.40, £2.50. With every £1.50 per day that you put into your Utopian Global membership, you're running an international business. You're running a store, a tangible asset that's going to generate income for years ahead. Every month, you're building and growing your wealth accumulation. So I really value everyone for being here. I really want to thank Randall and Ryan coming all the way from the United States and coming over. Great to be here. And we wish all of you much success. And Claudia, thank you for all that you've done for the last 10 years, 11 years, growing and supporting people. Now what we're going to do is, anyone that feels like will give a testimonial, with our film crew up here. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Ray, for doing the video work for us. We're going to keep it short because we've got to be out of the room in 30 minutes, but we'd appreciate if someone would like to give a testimonial. The camera's up there and the crew will actually do it for you. Thank you.
Boom. Boom. So we found this last day. Is that yours, Mike?
Okay, we need to shoot off, but we have one last prize. We've left the last one, the best prize to last. So as you've heard recently, you can, if you become a member of Utopian Global, you can purchase a store, starting from €99. So we are going to give one member today a €99 package to get you into Utopian Global. And I am pleased to announce this will be Samantha.
Oh, wow.
So obviously I can't give it to you, but obviously we have exchanged contact details, so congratulations. You're very welcome.
There's a reason for me being here.
Exactly. We go so believe in fate. So we'll be in touch when we get your account set up and you will be a tone holder. So congratulations.
So much. Thank you, CEO.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's a wrap now. That's finito. So I encourage you to take the time now to mingle with the people behind the team and also to know them better. And also, if you feel confident, go for the testimonial. We really appreciate it because we use that in our marketing to show obviously feedback from your members. Okay. So that's it, guys, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.